Thank you so much for joining us today, Marcus.
Of course.
Take it away.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for having me. I've been kind of looking forward to this. It's been a long time since I was down there at UConn. I think it's been about 12 years. And yes, I have done a very non-traditional type of career path. And I kind of want to, it's going to be kind of like a story a little bit that I want to kind of paint for you today, as well as just kind of the logic of the different steps that I went through, and then where am I at today? Where's my business at? And things like that. So without any further ado, let me pull up. There we go. Can you see my slides?
Yep, it looks good.
Perfect. So this picture up front, I actually like using in a lot of my presentations. This was in a demonstration project we did down in Ecuador, where we were at a special needs school, and she's a very sweet young woman, and I had a really good experience. So that's why I like using that picture in my presentations. So part of why my career path was non-traditional was because I actually didn't end up finishing my PhD program. So I was invited into the PhD program in biomedical science, but partway through, I actually had finished my preliminary exam, and I ended up coming out with a master's. So you ask yourself, why, right? I've always been very interested in stem cells and biochemistry and biophysics. But when I was finishing up my preliminary exam and getting ready to become a PhD candidate, my father, who lived in Oregon at the time, where I live now, got really, really sick. Turned out that he got viral encephalitis of the brain. We thought he might have cancer. And, you know, it caused me to kind of reevaluate my life and think, am I happy here? You know, is this what I want to do with it? And in the end, I actually determined that I'm actually really passionate about inventing and pursuing entrepreneurship in a public health type of setting, because I'm still very passionate about public health. But I decided to take a different path. And since I had finished my preliminary exam, I decided to come out with a master's in biomedical science and start to push forward towards business, so I could pursue public health and inventing on that type of side in my own terms. And plus, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, as they like to say. So the first real invention idea I had was during my PhD program. It was what I really wanted to make my preliminary exam focused around. It was another method, or a more accurate method, for measuring the rate of bone degradation and deposition. So my lab that I worked at was in the skeletal and craniofacial department. Fantastic group of people. And that idea has still stuck with me to this day. It really sparked my invention passion. And that's when I really realized that this is something I really want to do and want to push forward with. My days of doing bench research and filing for grants were over, and I went down a very different path. So during the PhD program, when I was in it, and even a couple of years before, my father, who is a dentist, actually had started doing something kind of novel. Instead of using drills and injections and traditional dentistry, he had identified from the founding fathers of dentistry that there was a medicine they used back in the late 1800s. It was called silver nitrate. And it was actually used here in the United States and around the world. The protocol wasn't perfected, but it was very effective at killing the infection in tooth decay. So after many years of tinkering with this protocol, he got it very fine-tuned and actually published his results in the California Dental Association.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh
boy. Anyways, where he found out from his results in his clinic that all of his hospital referrals that he would have to send patients to the hospital for getting crowns and implants, all kinds of things, went to zero. And he prevented new cavities. It was dirt cheap, and it was very effective. And it inspired me. You know, I loved watching what my dad was doing in the background while I was pursuing my own scientific career. And more interestingly, there was a case of a patient. His name was Robert Block. So he was a stroke patient, and he kept having to come in, go to the hospital, all kinds of stuff, and decided to paint this medicine not just on the cavities, but all surfaces of all of his teeth. And we do that about two, three times a year. And oddly enough, his plaque load completely went down. He doesn't really get any new cavities. Gingivitis went away, and periodontitis went away. So it was very interesting, and it intrigued me because it had these vaccine-like properties. So I kept that in the back of my mind while I was pursuing everything. And I also knew that this hospital dentistry problem is a big deal because it actually has health implications, especially for children, where it can lead to memory problems, risk for language problems, but it actually can end up killing children. And it has in multiple circumstances. And if tooth decay left untreated goes far enough, the infection can reach the brain and kill the patient. So it was very interesting, and it is a big public health topic that I always kept with me. And so after I had decided to leave with my master's, I thought, okay, I want to do something with this. You know, I love inventing and I love entrepreneurship. So I went to Portland State University and pursued an MBA back in 2010. And from that program, I really learned a lot of useful tools because I wanted to do international public health. I wanted to reach out at the population level. And so with the MBA program, I learned important things like how do you build a supply chain for bringing products in and out of countries so that you can bring these medicines to where it's needed. How do you develop an intellectual property portfolio? You know, how do you do financial projections and forecasting and assessment so that you can provide governments with an idea, say, look, you can treat more people and save a lot of money and it's a win-win for everybody, as well as how do you get medicines and materials around and let people know about it. So pursuing that MBA was definitely a good next step for me. Now, interestingly, and again, this is very, very non-traditional. So this was my first invention that I had patented, and it's actually in the fashion industry. So I was watching Shark Tank one day, and there was this invention somebody had created called, what was it called? Working Stiffs. So it was a magnetic collar stay to keep your collar down. And somehow I got inspired and I created magnetic cufflinks that allows you to wear cufflinks on button cuff shirts and French cuff shirts. And since that, I've actually licensed it to 3 different companies in the US, Canada, and Guatemala. So it was like my first venture into invention and kind of doing something new that I really enjoyed. And I've got just kind of like a little short video to show you what it is, and you know, just a little bit of fun. Introducing AnyCuff. Oops, excuse me. The very first pair of cufflinks that you can wear on a button cuff shirt. No French cuff required. Basically what I created was a 2-piece magnetic system. The first piece is a unique metal device that slips onto the button. The second piece contains the decorated part in a neodymium magnet. It will stay securely fastened. That's my wife. You come upon a situation where you may need to remove your cufflinks, you simply pull apart your sleeve and roll it up. When you're done, you unroll your sleeve and voila, the AnyCuff clicks back together. So yeah, that was a fun little invention that I keep going in the background, but it's not the main thing of what I do. So at the end of the MBA program, when I finished, my father's work, you know, had still really inspired me using this medicine on the Medicaid population, you know, the portion of the population that really has the most need. And so I said to myself, well, let's start a business. And the first business we started was called Oral Health Outreach. And so the premise is that we would have dental hygienists who are expanded practice, and we provided them with mobile equipment so they could go on site, actually do cleanings and treatments, charting, and then prepare Dr. Duffin, my father, to be able to come on site and provide that silver nitrate treatment. And that was a game changer for that population. You know, these people can't leave. So dentists don't come to them, and they get forgotten about, and their teeth break off at the gum line. It was a mess. And I had a lot of responsibilities. So I was the CEO and marketing director. You wear every hat in the book. I wasn't the clinician. So I built all the marketing materials, developed all the accounts receivable and accounts payable systems, found and hired the staff, did all the billing, and identified all the different, hospice and regular long-term care facilities, over 20 locations where we did it. And it was great. It was wonderful. But we weren't satisfied. And what I mean by that is that it was just limited in scope. We were just treating people in our backyard, and we wanted to think bigger. We did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then decided to go another route. So we knew this medicine, silver nitrate, was very effective, and we knew we could take it to the global platform. So we created a company called NoDK LLC. It's kind of a play on words, no tooth decay. And the goal for that was to create sort of a treatment system of medical devices that would really ramp up the ability to use this medicine to treat at the population level anywhere. Currently it was only being done, these medicines were only being used in the clinic, but 44% of the population that has untreated tooth decay, they're not in the urban areas, they're in the rural areas, and they're very difficult to get to. And it's expensive to do regular treatments out there. Now I say SDF here, as you can see. I'll come back to that. It's the next iteration after silver nitrate, just another silver salt, and I'll come back to that. So with this company, part of my job was to create all the products, right? We knew the medicine worked. We had a good protocol. Now we needed a reusable, multi-dose, metered dose dispensing system for the medicine. And you had to be able to have compressed air without electricity, right? So a manual powered hand compressor using regular dental tools. So then one person with a backpack could go anywhere in the world and treat 100 people by themselves in a day, easily. Treat their whole mouth, each person, in like 5 minutes. And that's what I did. And we'll kind of get to that point because it was an evolution. And, one of the first things we really needed to do, though, was prove the effectiveness of our protocol. Our protocol gets up to 96 or 98% success at killing the infection and up to 60% at preventing new cavity formation. So we actually used the first product I invented, and we went to Ecuador, Ghana, and Bolivia, where we had conducted demonstration projects and with good success. So that led to my very first of the devices. It was very simple. It was a double-ended device with 2 different tubes, reusable applicator tips, plastic sleeves for infection control. It was very simple, but it was the first one that we had, especially with a startup business with a very limited budget. So you kind of have to get creative with off-the-shelf things. And that led to this patent. That was my second patent. And then we decided, hey, let's make it legitimate. We want to sell this, get this medicine out there, make it easier to treat lots of people. So in 2013, we filed for a 510(k) application for the medical device, which was using 50% silver nitrate and fluoride varnish. Everything came back beautifully. The biocompatibility tests, the dental tubular occlusion, everything. But the FDA, and pardon me, were jerks and stupid. Because the only reason they denied our application was because silver nitrate turns a cavity black. And it turns a cavity black because it leaves silver in the lesion, which then becomes oxidized and turns black. And that aesthetics problem was why they denied it. So, but the road continues. So let's come back to those demonstration projects. So the first one that we had done was actually in Ecuador, where we had 165 children, about 100 in a primary school outside of Ibarra, a very rural area, and then 65 children in a special needs school. So at first, it was the president of the Red Cross for Bolivia who reached out to us, found out about us. And then the Ministry of Health got involved and took over the project. So the Ministry of Health had sent dentists over to our clinic where we had trained them on the protocol and the devices that we had created. And we did this project and we followed it for, I think it was 18 months, where we come back in 6-month intervals and provide our treatments with great success. Then we went to Ghana about a year or two after that, where we went to the small village of Petue in the Volta region, where we collaborated with the paramount chief as well as local dentists, and went to a school there and treated 300 kids. No electricity, no real access to running water, very successful. And then the last big demonstration project we did was in Lake Titicaca on Island of the Sun and in the area Copacabana surrounding it, where we treated just shy of 4,000 kids with also good results. And we actually published these results in the Journal of Public Health International. It was basically an after the fact case report. You know, we weren't looking for IRB approval or anything like that. We were doing a humanitarian project to demonstrate the effectiveness to these local governments. And it turned out great. And that's the publication right there. Now, during this journey, right after we finished our demonstration projects, there was another silver salt called silver diamine fluoride. And it actually had got FDA certified in 2014, whereas silver nitrate was not FDA certified. It almost was, but that reviewer was nodding. Anyway, so we switched over to that medicine, silver diamine fluoride, and there was a lot of literature out there from all around the world. And in 2016, it received breakthrough therapy designation, which has never happened for a dental product. And that's only really given for cancer products and things like that. So we made that switch and have been using it ever since, and it's being implemented around the world. So we really wanted to get the word out there even more. So we wanted to build resources, free resources.
Can I interrupt you with a question?
Yes, I love questions.
Can you possibly touch on I know it's like super political and in the weeds, but the differences between FDA approval and FDA certification? Because I noticed you said that it was FDA certified.
So, okay, that is a very good question. And we do have to mince words because they're very touchy about that. So the correct term is FDA approved for market. That's all it means. You're allowed, they approve you to market your product. It's not FDA certified. So I apologize if I used that word. That's the correct terminology to use.
Okay, very cool. Thank you.
No problem. So to keep this movement going forward, we developed some free tools. The first was a website. It's basically a big digital library that we call the Medical Management of Caries, where we put all kinds of publications that touch on the use of silver diamine fluoride, as well as just oral microbiology and just a huge scope, hundreds of articles, as well as videos from leading experts in the field on clinical techniques, educational programs, and all kinds of things like that. Next, we developed a textbook. So I'm one of the co-authors and I'm the main editor of this one. We collaborated with 30 researchers and clinicians from around the world and built this 470-page book. It was a nightmare. It was worth it. And people can buy it on Amazon if they want, but we also offer it for free. People can download the PDF in English and Spanish to educate themselves. And this is not just for clinicians, the public can as well, completely free. And if you're curious, smartoralhealth.com. And sorry, that's misspelled. There needs to be an E in that health. Now, another thing that we did is there's a lot of concern from some people about fluoride toxicity, right? Silver diamine fluoride varnish. It's a 2-step protocol that we do. And so what we did is we created a paper that just got published earlier this year, where it creates a tool for dentists to know, okay, if I'm treating this many lesions over this period of time, the child weighs this much, where is that relative to the acute toxicity threshold as well as lethal toxicity threshold? And it creates a tool for dentists to be able to be like, okay, I can treat the 20 cavities in your mouth today, or you don't weigh enough, you're getting close, we're gonna have to break it up over a couple of treatments. So it just made it that much easier for clinicians to be able to implement this type of medicine. Now, during all of that, we were still working on perfecting the delivery system. The first one was good, but it really needed an upgrade. And so I invented my next product, and I call it CaviGuard, guarding against cavities. So what this is it's a metered dose, reusable dispensing system that allows you to go anywhere, treat anybody, and with a lot of the medicine in hand very safely, and actually lower cost than buying the medicines alone. I developed the supply chain myself, and our main goal is to keep profits at a low enough margin where we're successful, but also to the point where poor people can afford this and governments will want to implement it and save on their budget while treating a lot more people. Now, we got some attention a couple of years back from the World Innovation Summit for Health in Qatar, where we were actually chosen to be one of the innovation boosters, where we were one of the winners. And so we got to introduce it there on sort of a global platform. It's a big event that happens every year. And that was a very fun thing to participate in. So we had our first big product release in Bolivia earlier this year. So we partnered with a large pharmaceutical company called Sigma, and they too are a family-based company, and they have a big background in public health. So their nutraceutical products for dietary supplementation are used in government programs to help get rid of a majority of malnutrition in their country. And so we have a lot of things in parallel in regards to our values and what we want to do. And so we actually released it, and I figured I'd show you, I'm going to show you this little video that kind of goes over a little bit what the product is, what we did, and kind of go from there.
Industria Sigma Corp, químico-farmacéutica, junto a NoDK Treatment Systems.
Now there are English subtitles, I promise.
Innovan en el área odontológica, presentando en Bolivia un nuevo dispositivo que cambiará la manera en la que los médicos odontólogos se ocupan de las caries. CaviGuard. El bioquímico Marcus Duffin y el doctor Steve Duffin se dedicaron más de 10 años para desarrollar un protocolo y un sistema de dosis unitaria que realmente pudiera abordar la pandemia mundial de caries.
My name is Marcus Duffin. I come from the United States, in the state of Oregon. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, biophysics, a master's degree in biomedical science with a focus on stem cell research, and a master's in business administration with a focus on entrepreneurship.
My name is Stephen Duffin. I'm a dentist, and I live and practice in Oregon in the United States. I received a microbiology degree from UCLA, and then my dental degree is from Emory University.
Las autoridades de todo el mundo han coincidido en que las caries son la enfermedad infecciosa más común y que no hay suficientes dentistas para satisfacer la demanda. Incluso si hubieran suficientes dentistas, los métodos tradicionales de perforación y obturación fallan la mayoría de las veces y conducen a procedimientos más invasivos y costosos a medida que avanza la caries.
So I was taught in dental school to treat cavities with needles and drills and fillings. And nobody liked that because it hurts. And about 10 years after I began my practice, I was in a lecture and I heard about a medicine from Japan that can treat cavities by itself. And I was so amazed that I ordered some from Japan. I read up all the literature I could find, and I began to treat children with lots of cavities with the medicine. They were happy, I was happy, and it worked. It's amazing. I would never go back to the old way.
Gracias al descubrimiento del Dr. Steve, Marcos pudo comenzar con el desarrollo y perfeccionamiento del CaviGuard.
My company, NoDK, partners with Sigma to bring the product CaviGuard to Bolivia and eventually the world.
So NoDK is a science and research company that wants to advance the medical management of tooth decay around the world.
This is designed actually for many types of people. Currently, we are marketing this specifically to dentists, but in reality, it's not necessarily a dentist that's required to provide this treatment. This treatment is very fast, safe, it's easy to do. We imagine that a school nurse someday could be able to use it. Ultimately, this was built for the healthcare system as a whole. This device in the future, I can imagine being used out in the community, not just in the hospital, not just in the clinic, but it's portable, it's low cost, doesn't require electricity. You can go directly to a long-term care facility, for example, and treat all of the seniors there. You can go to a school, you can treat all of the students there. You can go to a military base, treat them all there, allow you to go anywhere and dry the cavity, treat the cavity, and then after it's treated, fill it for much lower cost than you would be able to find anywhere else.
De esta manera, con total dedicación, Sigma y NoDK traen la solución definitiva, cuidando y formando nuevas sonrisas.
So it was just kind of a little video that we had pulled together for that product release, just to give you a little bit of an idea of more of the scope, kind of what our goals are, and we'll keep going. So, you know, why did we even make this in the first place? You know, we talked about all of the things that we saw in the clinics, about the benefits of this medicine, but you know, why this specific treatment system? Why was it developed? Well, with 20 years of in-clinic experience, those 3 different international pilot projects that we did, we realized that we needed something that could provide precise dosing, was low cost. You could treat everything at the initial exam. It's portable, reusable, and didn't require electricity, right? One thing that was really important to me is that if I'm going to develop something like this, it had to be really high quality. You know, if it's going to traverse in a backpack everywhere, you know, it needs to be designed very well. So I actually found an engineering firm who has customers like NASA and SpaceX and Delta Airlines, and I worked with them, and we spent about 2 years developing this thing using really high-end plastics and materials with really good function. And some of the key characteristics. So the actual medicine itself is stored in resealable and reusable containers, so that you actually can get more use out of the medicine itself. And removable applicator tips and sleeves allows you for proper infection control. And this is actually a COVID-19 registered product and medicine. So during COVID-19, dentistry was having a really hard time, because when you use that drill, you know, you're creating aerosols and it's going out into the air, and you can spread COVID that way. And so it was actually recognized by the American Dental Association and a large variety of other groups, the Pediatric Dental Association, and so on and so forth, that this is a good COVID alternative. And even the WHO said so. Also, you have to be able to provide precise dosing. A lot of things that people complain about when using these medicines is that, how much are you putting on the tooth? There's a lot of fluoride on there. You really need to know how much you're doing. And finally, the other medicine that's involved is called fluoride varnish. So let me explain the protocol. So you have a lesion on your tooth. You get all the food out, of course, and you have them brushed real quick, and you thoroughly dry a cavity so that you remove all the saliva. The cavity is like a sponge. And if you don't remove that saliva, it'll prevent the medicine, silver-diamine fluoride, from getting in there. So you have it clean, you dry it, grab device 1, click, paint, grab device, which is silver fluoride, then grab your second device, which has fluoride varnish, click and paint next tooth. So the fluoride varnish is important because it creates a hydrophobic barrier so that the saliva doesn't wash it away. And it actually, by adding that step to the protocol, it takes treatment effectiveness from around 70% up to 98%. So that's something that we have with our treatment system that you don't really find anywhere else. And this is what it looks like. So these are the two devices, the one on the left for the silver fluoride, the one on the right for fluoride varnish. As you can see on the left, the different disposable applicator tips and sleeves. And then in the bottom middle, the two tubes that have the medicine, silver fluoride and fluoride varnish. So let's see, why did we choose Bolivia sort of as our big launching platform, you know, for trying to get this medicine out? We started in the United States, but why Bolivia? Well, a couple of reasons. If you look at the World Dental Federation, they kind of do a poll of public health data from around the world and give ratings and scorings on the level of tooth decay in different countries. And Bolivia, by far, was right up there in the top 5 for some of the worst tooth decay out there. There's a lot of historical reasons behind that, you know, the development of sugarcane crops that were getting done down there, westernization of the diet. That was one of the big reasons that we really wanted to do Bolivia. We also were working with a nonprofit NGO called Smiles Forever, whose headquarters is in Seattle, but they function and work down there in Bolivia. So it made perfect sense. And they actually introduced us to our pharmaceutical partner, who we adore working with. They're amazing people with good hearts. And we're lucky to be working with them. And so that's kind of why we chose for that to be sort of the jumping off platform for our company. Now, some of these slides I pulled from the symposium for my product release, but it has some important key points that I want to tell to you, because this is a message I'm giving to the dentists themselves to help educate them that this is a new type of treatment that you need to use in your practice, make it better for everyone. And so there are well over 100 publications around the world that scientifically back this up. There are clinical trials that have gotten done all around the world. You name it. There's tons of information out there. And actually almost most of those are on that MMC library resource website that I built. Also, patients are generally traumatized. Who likes getting their teeth drilled on? Anybody? No? You? No? It's terrible and it's traumatic. You know, I still have nightmares when I was getting my teeth drilled on as a kid. And a lot of people around the world avoid dentists, even when they need it, and it could be a life-threatening problem. They still don't do it because they're scared. There's no drills, there's no shots with this method and in our product. So it helps a lot with patient fear of going to the dentist. So we'll be able to get out there and treat more people. Also, you can treat the entire mouth in minutes. So from the perspective of a dentist, it's easier to help get them to adopt it when they think, okay, I can see 3 times as many people in a day. I can have better outcomes, but that's actually good for my business. You know, you have to think about this from an economic perspective as well. You know, who's going to be doing the treatment? It's going to be a dentist or a nurse or a doctor, and they have bills to pay, right? So if we can show them that, look, there's good results and you get a higher patient throughput, it's a win-win, and you can be sustainable without having to always do $10,000 treatments. It's not necessary, and it can be very traumatic. Also, the material cost is dirt cheap. I mean, it costs less than $1 in materials to treat a cavity and arrest it with this. Also, another thing that we observed, especially in Ecuador, was that literally the pain that these kids were feeling every day, where their teeth were rotted to the gum line, and we treated, their pain and sensitivity stopped within hours after the treatment. This is a powerful dental hypersensitivity treatment, and it's very effective. And we still notice that in our clinic and a lot of other places around the world where we provide treatments. One drawback, though, of this treatment itself is that you can't treat it when the pulp is involved in the cavity because there's no skin to protect the nerve or the blood supply. Silver kills bacteria because it binds to the proteins, breaks disulfide bonds, prevents DNA replication. But we have all those things too. And skin has many layers of dead epithelial cells that protect you. The pulp does not. So what does it look like? This type of treatment, what does it look like on the tooth? So this is courtesy of Dr. Carla Cohn from Winnipeg, Canada. You can see on the left, that's an active cavity, right? That's what it looks like. And after treatment, it turns black because that silver is getting deposited into the dentinal tubules. And even if you're only treating it where the enamel is affected and it hasn't cavitated into the dentin, it still goes into the interprismatic spaces, right? So that blackness, though, in certain areas can have aesthetic concerns. Or it's just a giant hole and you lose function in the tooth. And so you can use filling material, and we recommend something called glass ionomer cement. There's no need for drills or shots with this type of filling material. You can literally squirt it in, use your thumb, and you're done. And it looks great. It's great for everybody, for all ages. You can treat anywhere. It's COVID safe. And I also want to make this easier for patients and dentists to be able to find this type of treatment. So when I had the website designed, I created two different versions, a dentist version and a patient version. And one of the tools that was kind of cool is that if you're a patient and you want to find out who around me provides this type of treatment, punch in your address and boom, you can find all the different people in your area that are providing this treatment. And the same for the dentists. They can punch in their address and find representatives to answer their questions and things like that, and create all kinds of free resources so that dentists can learn in patients, educational testimonials, things like that. And it's just with this system, it's much better than if you were to try and buy the materials alone. Now let's kind of talk about the future, right? So I built this big international company, right? And I'm going to be branching out of Bolivia next year into Brazil, Egypt, Ecuador, and the United States. But there are other things that are needed other than just the medicine in order to do it. So the first thing you need, like I was saying, is compressed air to thoroughly dry the lesion. So I created a manual hand-powered compressed air system that's dirt cheap, and you can create your compressed air anywhere you want and strap it onto your backpack. The other one that I'm actually about to get patent pending status on is I call it the CaviMix. So what does this mean? All right, so you've dried the cavity, you've treated it and arrested it, but now you need to fill it. So the material we recommend, the glass ionomer cement, chemically is separated into a powder and a liquid, and when you join them together, they polymerize. There are two formats you can get that in. One is a capsule where it's pre-measured, and you have to shake it with something called a triturator or an amalgamator. They're great, right? Easy to use, but they're $4 to $5 a cavity. And for our demographic, low income third world countries, that's a non-starter. But you can buy the powder and liquid separately for 90% cheaper cost, but it's very difficult to mix. And this machine that mixes the cartridge, they're expensive. They can be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. They require electricity and they're bulky. So I invented a manual hand-powered triturator that allows you to know how fast you're spinning it and for how long, so then you can get a good mix. And I invented a disposable cartridge that's 8 cents to make. So then you can put the powder and liquid in and get the same high quality mix and function of the cartridges while still saving 90% on cost. So that's a product that I have a fully functioning prototype that's kind of the next addition to my company. And I kind of want to show you just a little bit of a video because this helps kind of create a full kit for mobile dentistry to really be able to take off and go out into the community and treat at the population level. So here is a little demonstration video of that product.
All right, so we're going to kind of go through what the cavity mix is, what are the features, and then we're going to do a nice little demonstration. So first of all, this is a manually powered refrigerator. This allows you to mix glass ionomer cement or amalgam cartridges without the need for electricity, and it's completely portable and it works every time. So here's some of the features. So this is the actual crank handle, okay, which then causes the cartridge itself to mix, okay, inside of here. There's a little light right there that tells me when it's green that I'm cranking fast enough to mix. And when it turns yellow, that means I'm done mixing a glass ionomer cement cartridge. And if I keep cranking until it's red, then that means I've mixed an amalgam cartridge. So let's go ahead and do ourselves a little demonstration. So this right here is a glass ionomer cement cartridge. Comes with the powder and liquid pre-filled into the capsule. So all we have to do is tap the bottom and push it in. That helps prime it. We'll give this just one flip. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and put it inside of the device. Very simply. And then we're going to mix. Turned yellow, that means it's done. Go ahead and just move this cartridge right here. Put it in the dispensing gun. And then we're going to get it come right out. Just a couple of clicks of all glass ionomer cement cartridges. And it's coming. And we're going to go ahead and just fill this cavity in this tube. From the bottom. Very nice, good mix. Now, to make sure that this gets in there, and I don't need any special instruments, I'm using my thumb. And to mimic saliva on my thumb, since glass ionomer cement needs water to cure, I'm just going to dip my thumb right there in some water. And smooth that out. Nice, good filling. And that takes about 2.5 minutes to cure. So then we'll just have the patient kind of keep their mouth open, and maybe have some parchment paper. Oh yeah, and you got to do a bite check as well. So you got to make sure you have them do this.
All right, so I think we get the gist on that one. So now let's think about also again the future, right? So now we have I've invented the right equipment and tools to take this to a bigger scale. And we actually have some connections directly with the Pan American Health Organization, which predates the WHO and the WHO. So for about a decade, maybe 12 years, we've been working with Dr. Rick Niederman, who is one of the co-directors of the main WHO collaborating center at NYU. And he's basically told us, hey, look, when you're bringing this into the Bolivian government for a program, PAHO wants to come in, help with the actual government rollout, and then we want to get that added into the WHO essential medicines list for something to be recommended for all countries to use. And more specifically, not just the medicine, but with our treatment system. So that's really kind of where we're going, right? So we've created it for dental clinics and going out mobile, but I want this in every government program around the world. I want NGOs using this, everybody. And so that's kind of our ultimate goal. And something interesting also that happened in December of last year. So the WHO has something called an essential medicines list, right? All the different types of drugs for malaria treatment or anti-cancer drugs and things like that. Well, last December was the first time that they had created an essential medicines list for dental products ever. It's never happened until now. And this medicine, silver diamine fluoride, is on it. And the WHO recommends to every country that they use this in their attempt to stop the problem of tooth decay, which affects 44% of the global population. So that's kind of the broad scopes. As I said, very non-traditional, my path. I've gone many different ways, but I'm very happy with where I ended up. I do miss doing research, to be honest. But bench research and grants and all that wonderful stuff just wasn't for me. So I pursued a different path, and I'm very happy. So thank you, everybody, for listening to my story. And yeah, if there's any questions or comments or anything, of course, I'll stick around. And
we do have a bunch of questions in the chat, actually, if you would like to entertain them. So first of all, thank you, because that was a really great presentation.
oh, thank you.
Second of all, I'm super sorry about any interruptions that occurred. This is the first time, so we must be officially making it big now that we have like Zoom bot people or whatever.
That's
Okay. So some of the questions. So in which of the countries that you did your initial treatment in, did you record the most successful demonstration, or what you perceived as the most successful demonstration?
So which of the countries was the most successful?
Yeah.
That was actually in Ecuador that we had the most effect. We actually got 96% success at arresting cavities and 100% success at fixing the tooth-related pain that they felt every day. That was the most successful for a couple of reasons. One, we were working with the Ministry of Health, so there was a lot more highly trained personnel available and a bit more control. Also, our equipment was working. We had some problems with equipment in Ghana, and Bolivia was with an NGO, but we still had really good results.
So then another question is if you have ever heard of Redbird in Ghana. Apparently they do lots of public health diagnostics and appropriate technology products.
No, I have not. You said Redbird?
Yes, one word.
Redbird. No, I would love to learn more, please.
Yeah.
My goal is to cast my net wide. I want to meet as many people as possible to do this kind of change. So whoever you are, if you can somehow send me more information, I would love to learn more.
Yes, that is Richard. So I will put you two in contact with each other. He is one of our partners at Cernios. So I will send an email to you both to connect. And then I think a really important one is kind of just elaborating on some challenges that you faced becoming an entrepreneur. If you faced any, like how you overcame them. No,
really good question. Well, honestly, one of the biggest problems it comes to is money. You have to think this is very expensive. Doing an international medical device business, it's very, very difficult. And I was very fortunate. We are actually a family funded. So my brother has a very successful construction company, and he's been our sole investor. Now, I still work on a shoestring budget, but through perseverance and constantly coming up with new types of customers and showing to him that it's worth the investment, we were able to get around that problem. And honestly, another big thing is that it doesn't happen quickly. It never does. When you're an entrepreneur, you're building a company from nothing. There's no infrastructure, there's no staff, none of that. So you kind of have to learn along the way and build it up. There's and learn from failure. Failure is a good thing. I have hit so many roadblocks. I thought the world was going to end when the FDA said, no, you will not get approval to market. So accepting things as they happen and being able to roll with it and learn from it and let it build for the future, I think is some of the best advice I can give. And kind of a, I guess, more personal question. What's it like working with your family? It's awesome, actually. Fortunately, my dad's a nerd, and so am I. So we work very well together. My dad's he's a really cool guy. It's really nice. Yeah. So do you ever find yourself
I mean, maybe not because it's your dad, but like you're not a dentist, right? So like how do you essentially like make up for that like gap in knowledge that you have?
Lots and lots and lots of reading. You know, we go to we've done co-presentations at IADR, we present everywhere, and you know, I help design the treatment protocols and all that stuff, so I have to know the background. I'm the CEO, I'm the inventor, all that. I have to know these things. So just a lot of observation and a lot of reading.
And then I guess maybe if anyone else has questions to please throw them in the chat, but if not, I will get you out on this note. What do you think from your training in science has been the most helpful thing for what you do right now?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. Being able to think critically. That's by far the most foundational thing that I've learned during the PhD program when I was there, you know, and presentation skills, critical. Being able to tell a story, keep people engaged is important in any career that you go to. And being able to think of about things logically, right? You know, as a scientist, you have to think about everything from every perspective to every tiny detail. And you have to do that before you even do your project. So that applies in every career, right? You're able to prepare for where the company is going. You're able to actually present in front of stockholder, you know, shareholders, or to the public, you know, in whatever industry you're on. So think critically, learn how to present, and be comfortable around a lot of people.
All right.
And let logic dictate.
Yes. All right. This has been really awesome. So I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We've promised an hour seminar, so that is what we shall do. So I will connect you with Richard offline. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really great. And I will let you know when we post a recording on our website.
Rock on. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody, for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope you all have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening.
Yes, you as well.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.